Hi again, it's Bob here from Bob Ladd Brewery and now Bob Ladd Carpentry. And what we're going to do today, or we'll start today, is what they call a river table. And a river table is something that looks like this, which is a nice piece of wood with this one, in this case, two rivers going through it. The river is made out of resin. And the resin is probably the most expensive part of the process, so it's worth your while getting a lovely piece of wood to start with, which I have here. I'll just put this down. Okay, so the wood that we're going to be using today is yew wood, and I've just picked this up from the wood yard. It's been in the wood yard sawn and planed for the best part of 15 years, and I've been reliably informed that the wood is over 400 years old. So when this piece of wood here was a little sapling, the English Civil War hadn't even been started. So it's a lovely bit of history already built into this project that we're doing today. So like I say, it's yew wood. The beauty of the yew is that you can actually use it outside. You can stay outside and it won't rot, which is what we're doing. This is going to be going basically where I'm filming at the moment. It's going to be joining us on the patio down here, and I've got a couple of pieces. I've got this piece here, which will be a future project, but today we're going to be concentrate on these two pieces here, and the river will be flowing down this middle bit here. Okay, now with this piece of wood we've got what they call two live edges. We've got a live edge here, which is the outside of the tree, and a live edge here. Now you'll need a live edge for your river to flow down, and it's really up to me to decide now whether I'm going to make this with a live edge on the outside, which will mean me having to clean it all up and what have you, and obviously a live edge on both edges, or to have it as an oblong, just like a table. So that's my decision I'm going to have to make in the next few minutes. But before that, we're going to just go and check that the flatness is okay. So we put the level on and what have you, look down, and that is absolutely perfectly flat. That is ideal for what the project that we're going to be using. Because when we pour the resin, we need to make sure that the resin flows down and is level across the top. And when we get to that stage, we'll show you what we're doing. Okay. So the other thing we've got to do is what length are we going to make it at? So at the moment these planks of wood are in the region of 51 inches long. It's a little bit long really for a table, that. So what I'm going to be doing is looking at the length I'm going to do. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll just put a couple of spare lumps of wood on the ends. Okay, and then it depends if I'm going to make a square edge or what. I'm going to put another straight edge down here and another one down here, just to see what I would get if it was a square edged across. So at the moment that's now 16 inches wide. Is that wide enough? A bit wider, probably get it to about there. It's about 17 inches wide, 430 millimeters wide. As I say, once I've squared the ends off, I can decide then whether I'm going to leave the outside edges as a live edge. Okay, so for now what I'm going to be doing is just fiddling around with little bits of wood. As long as the two end faces are absolutely in line, I can get on, saw them off, and then we go on to the next stage, which we'll be sticking them in a mould, and then we'll start to pour the resin. So for now, or should we say it might even be today, we'll just leave it at that point now, and then we'll come back, and then the next stage we'll be preparing it for the pour. So thanks very much, see you at the next stage. That's it. Right, well what we've done now is we've squared off each end, and then we've sort of made a part mould what we've got is we've got a piece of melamine top, and then we've put some blue tape on it, which is a special tape to stop the resin from sticking to it. Now the problem is, if this resin was stick to this melamine top, as you try and split it, it'll bring some of the melamine top away, so it's very, very sticky. So what we've done is we've put two ends on, put the blue tape on, and we've also sealed as much as we possibly can all the way around. Now I've used a glue gun on the inside edges of what they call the live edge, and then I've just used some sealant on the outside. Now I've never done it this way. I've never done it without a full mould all the way around, mainly because I won't be able to seal it anyway, but because of the live edge again on the outside. So it's one of them things. I'm just going to have a little bit of a squeaky bum time when we do the pouring, because I don't want it to all leak out. And the first pouring we do is only needs to be about 3mm, about 1/8 of an inch. That's just basically to seal the bottom. Then you've only got to worry about is the edges on here. So we're going to be doing that now, and we're going to do this one in ocean blue. I was going to do it in red, but we've decided on ocean blue for this one, which is the same colour as the one that we saw before. So we're going to be using this resin here, Glass Cast 50. What Glass Cast 50 means, it will actually cast up to 50mm in one go. I think we're about 35mm thick on here, but as I say, the first pouring really is only going to be 3mm. This is your resin, this is your hardener. It is very, very, very important that you get these two ratios mixed correctly according to the instructions. And the instructions on here is by weight, 100 of the resin to 45 of the hardener. So what we're going to do is, I've got two little half pint cups here, the throwaway cups, and then a little mixing bowl, and then I've got my colour here, so we drop it in and I'll be mixing in. So the first step is to measure out the resin. This is very expensive, by the way. This kit here, which is 5 kilograms, is actually around about £85, so it's really important that you get this right. So let's have a look. I'll just turn the weighing scales on. Quite accurate, we're in grams. So I've got 300 grams of the resin. I'll just work that out, how much of the hardener I'll need. $135. So I need 135 grams of the resin. Absolutely spot on. Okay, so we don't need those now. So now I'm going to mix these two together, and once you start mixing, you've got plenty of time for it to mix. There's not a problem that way, so you haven't got 5 minutes or anything like that, but it is important that you mix them thoroughly. And whilst I'm mixing them, I'll do an initial mix, make sure all that's cleaned out. Before we start pouring the resin, make sure the mould is clean of any bits that you've got lying in there. We've already hoovered it out, so it should be okay. And here we go. If you're hearing a noise in the background, it's Rab. That's my wee doggy, and he's now playing with his ball. He usually gives me an hand doing this, but he's a bit lazy today. So resin, then what I do then is I put the hardener inside that. This, by the way, if you don't use any colour with this, it is absolutely clear when it's cast. So it's superb stuff. It really is. Imagine it's £85 for 5 kilograms. So That's that in there. Get as much out as I can, it's expensive. And then I'll mix this together in here. It's supposed to mix for quite a while, so I'm going to mix it all in like this. And you're going to get bubbles in here. And the beauty of this resin here is that the bubbles will come to the surface, and I'll show you once we've poured it what we do once with the bubbles and when they come to the surface. You'll notice that the live edge here, the outside of the tree, I've taken all the bark off. All the bark's been removed. You don't want bark on it, it's a weak point is the bark, and it doesn't look good anyway. So that's all been removed. To be perfectly honest with you, most of it was removed when I got it. So we're going to use a pearlized pigment. It's ocean blue. There's only 5 grams in here. You don't need a lot of this pigment. What you do is dexterous hand skill to open it, right? So we can put a little bit of pigment in here. That's the ice cream van, by the way, that you can hear. The cameraman's not having one. Well, the camera woman's not having one. Okay, so let's get this all mixed up now and see where we go with this. Pause. I'll stop. Alright. Okay, so you can see we've been mixing this for quite a while now. You can see the pearlized effect that you get on this. And what we're going to do now is slowly pour it into the mould and hope it doesn't leak out of the sides. Hoping against hope, because it's expensive and I don't know how I'm going to do it again if I don't get it right this time. Okay, you can put a little bit more dye in if you want, and the colours that you get from these are absolutely fantastic. Pearlized pigments are fantastic. You get reds, you get yellows, greens. There's a massive range of them. Because it's a river, we want it to be blue. So here we go. Let's have a little see here if we can get it all poured in, nice and slowly into the bottom. See where we can get. Doesn't matter if you get drips on the outside. It's not going to be a big problem because you have to machine the top of this eventually anyway. Okay, so that's down there. Now at the moment, because it's only 3mm or ish thick, you're not really interested in its proper level, because it's only 3mm thick, isn't it? Now what we did do, we didn't realise at first, because I've only literally just bought this wood this morning. This piece of wood here is about 2.5mm thicker than this piece of wood here. So what we're going to do is when when we put the next pouring in, I'm going to put a bead of sealant all the way down here, and I'm going to build it up. I'm going to build up the resin so it's level with that, but over the top of this. So when I machine it off, I'm not machining too much off, because you'll get shrinkage from the resin. Okay. Looks like we've got everything in there. Doesn't look too bad. I won't be able to tell until later on. Right, we can see the bubbles in there. There's not so many, but there are bubbles in there. So here we go. You don't have to prick them with a pin. Bit of a flame gun, and then you just go across the top like that. Now what you should be doing now is you should be looking every 5 or 6 minutes. We have got leakage. It looks like we've got leakage on this end here. So we'll have to see how we are with that one. It's not level because it's not running down to that end. So what I'll do is I'll give it a little bit of a wedge under this end just to tip it up slightly that way till we can get that sealed there. The second pouring has to be within, I think, 12 hours of the first pouring. And what you do is you check it tomorrow. So check it in the morning, and I'll just touch it, and if you can touch it without your fingers sticking onto it and yet still make an indentation, it's okay to pour on the top of that again. Although I haven't done it myself, you can pour over a few days, but the thing what you'll have to do is you'll have to scuff up the resin that's already been poured for your next pouring so it keys to it. But I've always done it within 24 hours anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to lift up that end and we'll see how it is, and then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll do the final pour, which is as I say, hopefully we've still got resin in the bottom of there. I don't want to try and do too much more to it now. Everything's clamped down nicely. We've got these standoffs here just clamped all that down. There's a nice underneath there's a frame which is clamped to keep this melamine flat. So, and as I said, the board was flat anyway. Doesn't matter if you got little bits on the top, we are going to have to machine it all off. That's the last stage, or the next to the last stage, and we'll show you then. So thank you once again, see you shortly. Testing 1, 2. Okay, so it's actually been left for not quite 20 hours at the moment, and like I said yesterday, if you just put your finger on the one that's already been poured, just make a little indentation and it shouldn't stick on your finger, you're okay to do another pour on top of this one. So I've already mixed some up. I've got about 1.8 kilograms of resin in here, and I've already added the colour. I've done quite a bit of mixing already. I'll do a little bit more shortly. Now, the first pouring last night was, shall we say, a little bit squeaky bum time, because we had 3 minor leaks. We had a little leak here, a tiny leak there, and then there's a tiny leak I've noticed over there. Luckily it didn't all leak out. It did more or less seal itself. Hopefully we've managed to seal the bottom face. It's just the sides round here which I've sealed off, hopefully. So maybe we won't get too much more leakage as it is now. I've been making a note on this piece of wood how much resin I've been using. So we've used in this mix I've got 1.8 kilograms, and on the first pouring I actually did 2 pourings. I did one afterwards after we finished filming yesterday, because it was actually seeping away underneath. So I'd fully expect underneath here to be quite a bit of the resin that's stuck to the bottom. So, but as I say, hopefully we won't get much more. It's very, very awkward to try and gauge how much resin you'll need. The beauty of it is if you just mix up what you think's going to be just below what you should be getting to the top, then you can always mix some more and put it in. Okay, so let's another little quick stir around of this, and then we'll pour it in, and then we'll see if we need any more, which I think we will. I've not made this one quite as deep a blue as the other ones I've made, so just stick that there. Doesn't matter if you get any drips on top of here, it's all going to have to be machined. So here we go again. So I'll just pour it in and see where we go with it. Now the one thing I have done is I've made sure it was level beforehand. Of course, with this being a liquid, it's going to find its own level. So what I have done is I've made 1 or 2 wedges which will go underneath one end to level it all off. It's all looking rather well. last night, because we did notice that the resin was moving towards one end and not stopping, which is when we realised it hadn't sealed absolutely properly. So as I suspected, I'm going to need a little bit more, which I can mix up straight away, no problem. Once again, we've got bubbles on here. Now we're going to leave this for a little while, let them bubbles come to the surface. Because this is a really dense wood, I'm not expecting to get any porosity in the wood, any bubbles coming out. So normally you would have sealed what they call the live edge with just some clear Glasscast 50 and a paintbrush before you even laid it down. But because it is so dense, there's going to be no porosity in there. I've just got to watch out now that we haven't got any leakages coming out down the sides. Hopefully not, else I've lost quite a bit of resin here. But you can see now. Now one thing we'll do, I'll start filming in a minute, and then I'll start filming again when we've got it to its level on the top. I did say yesterday that this is slightly higher than this piece. So what I've done is I've put a little bit of sealant going down one edge. So the next pour in, I'll make sure it's above the level on here, and it stops at the sealant. The reason for that is that when this cures, you get something like about a 6% shrinkage. So the river, whilst it might be level when you first pour it, by the time it comes to the end, it's going to sunk down. You'll get like a little, what they call a meniscus going up the sides. Yes, I am going to machine it all over, but I want to do the least amount of machining as I possibly can. So I said this is about 2.5mm higher than this one, so all that's going to be machined off, and hopefully only about 1mm or so on this. Now I have noticed, I've forgotten to do it now, so it's not so bad because I'm going to do some more mixing in a minute. I've noticed that I haven't filled this bit in here. That's the beauty of this resin, you can actually fill in all the little voids and what have you. So I'll do that shortly. I'll fill that up with some resin after the next pouring, and like I say, you can see the bubbles here. So what we'll do, as if by magic, we'll just get rid of them. And I'll do that a few times just to make sure. Now the other thing you can do is with the stirrer, you can do this a few times, is you can go in and you can create some swirls like this. Now they won't stay like that, but what will happen is when it gets to the end, you'll have a nice-ish pattern. It won't stay like that, and I'll be doing this a couple of times. Okay, so, and of course you're not really restricted to using one colour, you can use a couple of colours if you wanted to. I've used a red and yellow, and I've just used a yellow one as well, to get sort of a try and mix effect. It didn't work out quite as well as I could, as it should, but it was a different colour to the yellow. The yellow and red was obviously a different colour to the yellow one. Okay, so I'll finish now, and then I'll come back again when we've filled it to the top, and then we can see what it looks like again. Okay, so now we've managed to fill it all up. I've got a tiny bit left over, so that's not too bad. And as you can see, it's not gone over on this plank of wood here because it's slightly higher, and yet this sealant has stopped it from going on this side. So that's fantastic. I'm really happy with that. The shrinkage, I should be taking a minimum amount off this piece here when I go to the next stage, which obviously I'll film that one as well. Managed to get this bit filled in, and I've got a tiny bit left in the tub. So I'll just go and do another blowing of all the bubbles off. just to get the bubbles off. As I say, I'll be doing this a couple of times, keeping my eye on it, and then that's it then for 72 hours. After 72 hours I'll be able to work on it. Until that time it's got to stay here. I may be able to move it after about 48 hours just because it will have more or less hardened by then, but 72 hours is the minimum time. Okay, we've waited 72 hours now, and after 24 hours I had another good look at it, and I found a crack that occurred around about here, and there was a little bit of an area up here which was hasn't been filled properly. So I just mixed some more and filled it in, and what have you. I've got a few bubbles here, and whilst it was curing, I checked the temperature after about an hour or so, and it was about 72 degrees. So it was, on reflection, I shouldn't have poured it that thick. I should have done it in 2 more pours. What I did after 24 hours, on the bucket which I mixed the resin in, I left the stick in, and I just pulled the stick out of the bucket, and it takes away all of the resin that's in there. And the good thing about this is that you can check to see if your resin has actually set. So if you pick it out like I've done here, and you bend it and it just bends, your resin's not set. If you bend it now, you see that, you know that your resin's set. So that's a good indication to see that your resin is set. So I can chuck that away. Later. So it's demoulding time, and this is brutal. This is really brutal. I've taken off one end. I've brought a little bit of resin away with it, but I always cut the ends off square anyway. So I've taken the screws out. So we'll start now. It's going to be noisy and it's going to be brutal. And you can see, because the resin had run, it's actually stuck to the melamine and taking the melamine away from it. So that piece of wood's useless now. And let's see what's going to happen when I do this. I think it's safe to say I won't be able to use that piece of wood again.
Melamine wood.
So I'll give it another go at this and try and get all this off, but you can see this is the blue tape here. But you can see this is the river, but you can see it's actually leaked all the way through, and this is the reason why it's stuck to the board. So I'll have another 5 minutes of giving this a good bashing around, getting all this wood off, and then taking it all away. And then we'll get ready for the next process, which will be on the other side of this, getting it all flat. So I'll set it up for that, and then we'll carry on. Well, taking this out of the mould was an absolute nightmare. It's the first one I've ever had where the whole mould seemed to stick on the underneath where it leaked through. But eventually I got it all off. Eventually got it off with a wood chisel, chiseling it all away. So it's off now. Now what we've done now is we're going to get this top nice and flat. Once I've got this top nice and flat, I'll just turn it over and get the bottom flat as well. To do that, we're using 2 rails here, which run down each side of the table, and a sled. And it's a homemade sled. All it is a piece of plywood there with a slot cut in it for the cutter. Just runs on the outside, runs up and down here like this, and then with the half-inch router with a nice big cutter in there, I'm going to go all the way along here. Now I did say this is slightly high. I have started, as you can see, and what have you. It doesn't take much to get it off. The only thing I would say is if you're doing it, do it slowly as you go over the resin. What you don't want to do, you don't want to be plucking any of the resin out. So when you get down to the resin level, just do it nice and slowly. Now to restrain it, all I've done is put a couple of blocks of wood with a screw in here in this end and this end as well, and then just pricked the screws in, not screwed right in, not screwing it down, just to stop it from lifting up. So once you've done that, don't forget, like I did say, I'm going to be checking the ends off square anyway. So you can see all these bits here with all these spillages and what have you. It's all going to be taken off. Now the river looks lovely now. Believe you me, once I've put this cutter going across, it's going to look really dull. And the next stage will be the polishing stage, which is going to take a long time. So for the time being, I'll just show you 1 or 2 passes, and then we'll be on onto the polishing stage. So safety first, try and stop the dust from going in my mouth. And I'll be doing that all the way along here until it's all of the resin and the table has been machined. Okay, so for the time being, I'll see you on the next one. So here it is in its finished condition. This is the river table. We've mounted it on some legs. We've got some nice oak legs and some oak rails going across underneath. I'll zoom in to show you the river shortly. To say it was been a bit of a struggle is a sort of understatement. I had to fill in a couple of voids and what have you, and I had an area which had ripped out when I took off one of the clamps. It stuck to it, and it's been outside now for a couple of weeks, so it's had a little bit of weathering. Before we put it out, we put 2 coats of Osmo oil, Poly-X Osmo oil, and then 1 coat of beeswax onto it, just to give it a bit of protection. But it's been made to come outside, so you know it's got to expect a little bit of hammer and what have you. It has been wet a few times. We left the live edge on, like we said, did a little bit of sanding up there and what have you. And all in all, it looks okay. It looks pretty good. It's not my favourite one I've done, I'll be honest with you, but it does look pretty good. I'm a bit more of a square edge person myself rather than a live edge on the outside. And it's come out that the river, I've got to say the river is the best river I've ever done with the blue and what have you. And even on the tail you might have noticed I put 3 of the little coasters that I've made, the matching blue. just as a sort of like to see what it was like. What I'm going to be doing as well, I'm going to be showing, I'm going to put outside here the rest of the river tables that I've made up to press, to see the differences that we've done and what have you. If you've seen the video for the chopping boards here, it's the chopping board. If you've seen a video for that, it gives you an explanation of how we polished it and such like. But it was a struggle. To be fair, it was a struggle. You do tend to have a lot of polishing and a lot of sanding away and checking for scratches and such like, you know. But it's come out well. So this one here, it's got nice big thick oak legs, and what have you, say big oak rails on there. It looks quite nice. The oak was reclaimed from when we did, when I did quite a big gazebo over a pizza oven. So it's got a few cracks in it, but that's what I don't mind. That gives it a more of a rustic look to it. But it's good. It's good. Okay. All I can say to you now is continue watching first of all, because the river tables will be on there. And I'll try and put a brief explanation of what they are. Thank you once again for watching. If it's inspired you to go and do a river table, go ahead and do one. It's not easy. It can be quite frustrating, but the rewards are there. Try and source your resin. I have used two different types of resin since we last spoke. Actually, I've used a new resin called Epidex, which at the moment I'm not right enamoured with. It's taking too long to dry. This one you can work on in 72 hours. The other one, at the moment, I haven't finished one yet. It's been 72 hours and I've still got a little bit of tackiness. So this is the Glasscast 50, which we use on both of these. So the Glasscast 50 seems to be quite a good product, a little bit more expensive than the Epidex, but I'll give a better understanding of the Epidex after I've used it a few times. Okay, thanks again for watching, and we'll zoom in and then stay tuned, and there'll be some more tables to look at that I've actually made. Thank you once again. So this one's been manufactured in ash. It's an ash top with ash legs, and as you can see on the legs I've inlaid some walnut in there, so just to get a little bit of contrast. And of course the river on this one is a burnt orange, and I think I mixed a bit of red into that one as well. And once again, a lovely looking river, or lava should we say. And of course I filled in a little void here with the same stuff. This is quite a nice size, this one. This is 48 inches by 18 inches, which is 460 wide by 1.2 meters. Yeah, 1.2 meters. So it's it's a nice size table. The actual height is, I've measured that while I'm doing it now. Yeah, it's about 18.5 inches high, or 470 millimeters high. I'll zoom in on the table here and see the thing. Lovely little table. All these are for sale, by the way, apart from the last one. I'll tell you about the last one. It's the first one I ever made, so they're all for sale. Just give us a shout if you want one, or what have you. Bearing in mind they aren't cheap. Okay, once again I'll zoom in on the river here, and you can see the lovely looking river that's going right the way through it, and of course the end there as well, and a close-up of the legs. It's a nice looking table. So this one's another table that's got the lava running through the middle, yellow and a little bit of red in there. The wood on this one's cherry, and the legs are quite chunky legs. Once again, bought the legs from eBay at I think they're about £60 those legs, but they're nice. Again, I think it's a nice contrast with the legs on this one and the size of that table. It sort of makes it look a little bit more chunky. Once again, I'll zoom in on the river and the wood so you can see what it's like. Again, we have the live edge from the outside of the tree down there, and I think that was one plank I got that I just cut down and shaped up so it fit. So yeah, nice looking table. So this is the first one I ever did, and it's my favourite one. This one's not for sale. I think the beauty of this one is this in the wood is just absolutely awesome. And of course, with the first one I ever did, it worked out, you know, better than I expected. So the wood is elm, and you'll notice I've put what they call pin legs on these. The pin legs you can get from eBay. They're about £30 for the pin legs. Obviously get 4 legs with that. And it gives it that sort of a nice sort of feel to it with the size of the top. I've been using this as my coffee table for over a year now, and I still love it. I still love looking at it and all the beautiful swirls in the wood. Once again, we'll come in and zoom in on the river and some of the little burls that are in there. But it's a beautiful table. I really like this one. So as we zoom in, you can see the burls on the elm here, and little. Oh, it's just so gorgeous, and I was lucky to get this piece of wood. Obviously, you can see the river there going down, Live Edge River. Live Edge being the outside of the tree, and then there's the pin legs and the depth of the table. And last by no means least, this one's got the double river down it. Now the story behind this was that last year went out for a meal, and as we came back from the meal we noticed there was a wood yard. So you don't pass a wood yard. Some people don't pass bookshops and record shops, and I didn't pass a wood yard, so I popped in, and it was a typical old-fashioned wood yard and what have you, and it was cutting up all the wood. And I went in there. It was like a little kiddie in a sweet shop. It was fantastic. Loads of lovely bits of wood. The trouble was, most of it was hadn't been conditioned, hadn't been dried off enough. Anyhow, I picked the wood. I come to pay for it, and he wanted I only deal in cash, so I had to go and get some cash. So I thought, well, I'll come back on Monday. And the wood that I'd bought off him, which one of them was the apple wood, which I've been making all the bows out of, came to £75, and I drew £80 out. Took him the £80, and he didn't have any change. So I said, well, just give us another lump of wood that's worth a £5. And this was the lump he came up with. And now, to be honest with you, when I got it, I thought, I don't think I bought. That was a good buy, that really, until I decided to put a double river down it. And start working on it. And what I did last year was that we flattened it off a bit, stuck it in the mould, and when I went on holiday, actually I stuck it in the mould, poured all the river, and I went on holiday for 2 weeks. So when I came back, I knew it was fully cured. And when I came back and I took it out of the mould, there's all of a sudden it started to bend. So I thought, God, what am I going to do now? So I left it, and lo and behold, within a day it had gone back to being relatively flat. So I thought, well, yeah, it's going to look all right. So I polished it all up, as you can see, and the effect of it was, I think, lovely. I think that again, some of that wood on there, it's just fantastic. Some of the little grain you've got, and the edge in here, the brown, all brown here, and starburst coming out there. It's just lovely, you know. And I've not done anything with it. It's resting on top of another table at the moment, so that's the next one I'm going to make legs to. but they're going to be different legs on this one. They're going to be something I've been wanting to do for quite a while, so we'll see what happens anyway. So thank you once again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed looking at the tables and such like, and looking at the things that I've done and what have you. There are other videos that I've been shooting in between, so whether this one comes out before the powder flask one or whether the powder flask one comes out before this one, I'm not too sure, but if you've subscribed you'll see both of them. And then I've got another project which I've never done before, so that's one of my next filming projects. Thank you once again, and subscribe if you can, then you'll get all the updates. Thank you.